if you guys see something or want to share something with everybody else, you can put links and things into the webinar chat as we're going. So I'm going to start right now. So the topic of the webinar is from short-term crisis to resilient new normal. And to achieve a different outcome, you must either do things differently or do different things. So firstly, I know most of you that are on the call, some of you I don't. Just to give you a little bit of background, I'm not going to go into my CV, but basically my purpose in life is to help the magic makers harness the power of purpose-led brands and human-centered strategy. So it's really important for me. That's what I do. It comes from a long history of different careers, different industries, but basically that's the outcome. So it's been a very difficult time to realize that there are so many people stuck, okay, with your businesses, not knowing where to go at the moment. And I work on ideas and solutions, and it's very frustrating for me to be in a time where things feel difficult for a lot of people. So today is all about sharing some insights. If you guys get one thing out of it that is interesting, then I am happy. So basically the presentation is going to be in two parts. I've got Nikki, my internet is, can you hear me? My internet is saying is unstable. I might exit and go back onto another internet if it's a problem, but let me know. So it's going to be divided into two parts. The first part is very much about behavior. You can't hear me?
Yeah, the whole thing is frozen.
No, but I haven't changed. I haven't moved. Sorry, guys, this is new to me as well. So what we're going to do today is in two parts. The first part being about behavior and insights, and the second part being more practical in terms of where you can go with your businesses. So I'm going to start right now. So basically, I absolutely love this quote. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So I just want you guys for a second just to try and not bring everything into this meeting with you, okay? We have a big tendency in business and stuff to lead from the past. The things that, what did we do last year? What didn't work last year? Instead of actually leading from the future as it emerges before us today. So the fact that we're all on this call means that we are thinkers, okay? We're ready to move to the next level with our business, but try to think holistically about this and keep an open mind as we go forward in the presentation. So I know that we said, and everybody's asking, what is the new normal? Okay, what's it going to be like? How can we talk to our consumers? What is going to happen? What are they going to pay for? Actually, the trick is that we can't return to normal, because the normal we had was precisely the problem. If we're really honest with ourselves, and I did a presentation in January in terms of media trends, is that a lot of businesses for a long time have been struggling in terms of what is the future, where are we going to? Businesses that were hard to digitize were already thinking about the future and where they were going to go to. So a lot of the trends that you're going to see today actually aren't new. Okay, what has happened is that when you have a crisis or a catastrophe, it speeds up the trends. So it basically enhances the trends or the macro trends that were already there. And we're going to go through them a bit later. So when I said in terms of the title that it's difficult and we've got to stop leading for the short-term crisis and really try to look at the future and building resilience in terms of where our businesses are going. It's very difficult. I know, I've been there, the sleepless nights worrying about salaries and paying people and where our revenue is going to come from. And that's precisely why we need to try and shift our thinking. Resilience is about the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness in human beings. And I was listening to a neuroscientist from Cape Town the other day, and he says, resilience for humans is very interesting. And the number one thing now is exercise. Okay, exercise. And what exercise does for you is it actually changes the cells in your body, okay, to act differently or behave differently. So we need to change the way that we're doing business. We need to change our mindsets to try and think differently in terms of how we're going to approach things in future. The same as the next thing for building resilience in human beings is a meaningful contribution to work. And we'll talk about that later with in terms of purpose. Okay, but now what we're going to do is I'm going to have to speed up because we're not going to get through this thing. So the behavioral trends affecting business as usual. This is a fantastic graph, and you might have seen it before. This is from Canvas 8, who are a human behavioral specialist agency in the UK, based in the UK. And basically what is happening is they've looked at the pandemic and said, okay, cool, what are the stages of change that we're going to go through as a society? And if you guys are into behavior, into consulting, I know Liesl will probably know this from dealing with people and coaching, is that stages of change, okay, and stages of grief are very similar. So we go through a similar pattern and similar thought mindsets as we move through crises. So if you look at the line there, what the line is actually showing us is the increase in COVID cases, okay, and what's happening as this pandemic carries on. In the beginning, the first phase, okay, was denial. Everybody downplayed it. Everyone was like, okay, we don't know what this is. It's not affecting us, not in our country. Let's carry on with our lives, okay? So that's a very obvious phase. Next phase that we've all moved into is anxiety and fear. And I just wanted to say that I know that I'm coming from Namibia at the moment, that South Africa, we all have different challenges as countries, in terms of first world and third world and socioeconomic differences. But this information is basically curated from around the world. I will tell you from where, if I can, from the different sources as we go through. But also remember that a lot of the research that I'm going to show you is internet research, okay? Because things are happening as it unfolds. People are doing research across the internet. So it is a specific type of person that is being interviewed. But there are differences coming through in the socioeconomic things, which I will talk about later. So as we move through this thing, we have denial, then we have anxiety, which is based on uncertainty and fear. And it is all around us at the moment. Moving through that phase, you then get into the phase of adjustment, okay? And what is interesting, as human nature, we want to move through this thing, okay? It feels like we've been in it for a very, very long time. So it feels like we all should be, okay, let's embrace the new normal. Let's move on. Now we know kind of what's happening. But in the adjustment phase, you move from uncertainty and fear into feelings, you're just starting to adapt, okay? Frustration, sadness, boredom, and you start to change your behavior patterns, okay? What is happening at the moment is that if you look at the curve, and I'll show you here, see if I can point here. There are waves here, okay? So this adjustment period is actually a very long period. Most countries in the world are actually still in the adjustment phase because uncertainty, we don't know where this is going. Nobody can tell us when this is going to end. And everybody wants to move through it. If you look at the reevaluation phase, we are so used to the Hollywood ending, okay? People are ready to move. Okay, done with this. In Namibia, we've been relatively unaffected in terms of our lifestyle. I know South Africans are still sitting in lockdown, but people are like, what is the new normal? Okay, we want to move ahead. We want to rethink things. What is our exit strategy for this? And with an exit strategy, we're talking about things like vaccination. Okay, this is how we're going to handle it. But actually, that is the adjustment phase and the reevaluation phase it's going to last for a very long time, okay, before we can let go of the behaviors and move towards this new normal. Nobody really knows what the new normal is going to look like. Okay, so if we go to the next things, there's a lot of things at play here, okay? So we have how we're moving through as a humanity, as a society, through this pandemic culture, and then we also have a matter of mindset. And what you'll see in the world at the moment is that there's a shift to the collective, okay, but there's a lot of polarization. What COVID has done has made us pretty much all very opinionated in terms of what we think about it, how governments are reacting. There is a shift to the collective. So you get on this graph, you get the individualists and then the collectives, okay? And how you approach this whole thing that's happening in the world at the moment also depends on how you view your risk in the situation. Is there a low risk in the situation or a high risk? Okay. So what you can see from this is if you have a low risk and you're an altruist and you have a collective mindset, okay, we're in this together, we all need to play our part, then you're out there on the front lines, okay? So these are the people that are out there with the soup kitchens. They are providing food. They're putting themselves, they don't think they're at risk, but they're there helping people. Behind the scenes, you have the people, the older generations who possibly also have a collective mindset, and they're sitting there making masks for communities and giving it to someone else who's giving it to other people. And then you obviously get the individualists. But now we're all a little bit of everything. As we move through this crisis and in terms of that adjustment phase, we change, okay? So the self-preserving individualist would have gone out in the beginning and pantry loaded, okay? I'm safe. Everybody's a bit anxious. I would have bought everything for myself. Everybody else, okay, the shelves are bare. The impulsive individualist, and this also differs a lot by your age, okay, because it changes things, would have been buying things, maybe profiting. If you look at price fixing, buying a lot of things, selling things out there. I only live once, so I'm gonna make the most of the situation. Okay, I'm gonna have to move through this presentation. So this is my favorite. Okay, and I always keep going to this in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Guys, humans have basic needs. Okay, we have physiological needs, we have safety needs, we want to love and belong, and we have self-esteem needs, our status in society, and we all want, and there's a move towards self-awareness and self-transcendence. Okay, so these things don't change. Okay, when we go through these behavioral trends, you'll see what happens in a catastrophe is that your basic needs and the macro trends bump up against this catastrophe, and we see new behavior changes, okay, that are coming out, opportunities for us to kind of evolve our businesses and evolve ourselves, but these things stay the same. So I'm going to talk about 5 big trends today. The first one is basically safety, mistrust, anxiety, and fear. This has been coming a very long time. In a presentation that I did in January this year, I looked at the Edelman Trust Barometer, okay, and 80% of people in January this year were worried about losing their job, okay, due to automation, technology that advances, workforce restructuring, or an economic downturn, which was kind of before COVID hit in terms of around the world, okay, it kind of just started. Looking now, people are still concerned, okay, 56% are concerned about losing their job due to a pandemic or not being able to find work for a very, very long time. There's a concern about misinformation. And in January, when I did the presentation, the World Health Organization had basically declared COVID an infodemic before they declared it a pandemic. So there's a worry about fake news out there and who we can trust and what's going on. What is very, very interesting, and I know you guys might be shocked about this because everyone has opinions, but like I said, it's important to leave those opinions behind, is that 67% of people, and this Edelman Trust Barometer is done across 11 countries with a sample of about 1,200 people in each country. And it is an online survey, so just in terms of mindset, think about that. 67% people still say that the government's highest priority should be saving as many lives as possible, even if it means the economy will sustain more damage and recover more slowly. And that is very interesting mindset, because fear and anxiety does certain things to different people. And I know in terms of everybody on this call running businesses, it might not be your opinion, but it is the opinion out there. People are afraid, so they will look to health in terms of the collective. 64%, and I think this is a very positive of what's happened in COVID, is that 64% of people have realized basically it's shone the light on inequality, okay? We have a problem in terms of education, we have a problem in terms of rich and poor, and the gap between how people can access services in terms of going forward. And then the last one, which is important for us, is, guys, people think CEOs should take the lead in addressing this pandemic. There's a huge shift in terms of how businesses are acting and how businesses are responding to what's going on. Just quickly, is that what is also interesting is there's a bit of a disconnect at the moment, is that people are fairly optimistic in terms of how they're going to come through this in terms of their personal finances at this point in time. Remember, this is all changing as we go through what's happening in the world. So they're fairly optimistic about their personal finances. Yes, they are taking strain and everybody's earning decreased income and a lot of people are losing jobs, but they are more concerned in terms of their country's national economy. So we have a big problem. 90% of people are saying, we don't know if our economy is going to survive. So there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of, okay, maybe that wave is still coming and how that's going to affect us. Okay, so like I said, is people think they're going to weather the storm personally on a financial thing. But what has happened is that this anxiety has taken hold, okay? And the anxiety is driven by uncertainty. We don't know what's happening in terms of where is this exit going to happen? When are we going to be able to really make decisions? So 8 in 10 people are planning to delay big purchases. And I know you guys have seen this coming through in the tourism industries. You would have seen it in the big luxury markets as well. So there is there's a difference here in the higher LSMs and the lower income groups. So the higher income groups are planning to delay big purchases, cars, houses, travel, vacation is a big thing. In the lower income groups, people are delaying purchases of clothing, personal phones, and personal electronics. So 8 in 10 people plan to delay big purchases. 4 in 10 people say they will cut back on the day-to-day things. Okay, and what is really scary is a third of people are using their savings, okay, or reducing their financial commitments. What this does open up is people say they will wait for promotions, and you'll see that everywhere at the moment, and that raises some other complications in terms of how you promote yourself and how you talk in a very cluttered market. Okay, so back to anxiety and fear, and it's very interesting because this might not be the way you feel about this, but this is the way the general population feels about this. There is a slow return. to public spaces, guys. 50% of people, depending on your country, okay, Namibia is a lot more open at the moment because we have not been affected, but 50% of consumers will not return to shops for some time or a long time, okay? And that's what's happening in the world. It is changing buying behavior, okay? People are staying closer to home. There's an increase in their use of their local corner stores. They don't want to travel far, possibly staying away from malls. They might not say it, but there's change in their behavior. It's almost like we're moving back in time. So we've gone from the daily shop, then it's the weekly shop, to the monthly shop, and people are like, okay, we'll go monthly. It's going to be better, and we're going to top up again. 60% of consumers, guys, will not return to large outdoor event venues for some time, a long time. And I know some of you in the event industry here, it is a real thing that we need to consider. And it is also driven by things we can't control, okay, in terms of how the governments are moving forward and putting parameters on distancing and social measures. So a lot of people here in tourism, it's been a very affected industry. What is so interesting is that people said, okay, they are prioritizing. So if you ask people what they're going to buy after this lockdown, or they come out or things get back to normal, everybody says prioritizing vacations and trips, okay? In terms of higher LSMs, even higher. Okay, lower LSMs are prioritizing clothes, okay, over vacations and trips. But what is happening is that people say they want to travel, okay? But what is interesting is it's not about, they're not waiting for borders to open up. They're not actually waiting for their economic situation to get better. The biggest thing driving not traveling or not booking things now is safety. They will travel again when they feel safe. Okay, so what that might mean, looking at staying closer to home, is that as things start to open up and people aren't just going to jump on a plane, they're going to probably travel more locally. And I know that local tourism markets know that in your own countries, they need to know it's all about that fear of uncertainty. They need to know that there's certainty in booking things. Okay, so I'm going to definitely run out of time if I don't speed up. So just quickly, it's very important to look at what's happening in terms of innovation, because what innovation basically validates what's happening in terms of human behavior and trends. You can see that the guys that are out there, basically the first adopters, early adopters, are trying all these sorts of things. Oh, shame. Anthea says, take your time. Thank you, Anthea. We might go over, but it's fantastic. So if you look here in terms of safety, okay, what's happening out there and how people are accommodating or adapting to this? Protective tech is a big thing. You'll see it everywhere. People are rushing. The designers are out there innovating, putting up isolation screens in airplanes, which is very interesting because we know that it's so funny about human behavior. Like we were talking about it last night and saying, if you take away the middle seat in an airplane, we know that circulation and filtering is actually probably anyway not good for you. But the psychological thing of, oh, okay, if I could put one seat open, it's actually going to be okay. So in terms of protective tech, you'll see amazing things happening. This Uganda, the thing on the left is drones in Uganda that are delivering COVID testing kits to people. Protective tech. I must just say to you that these if you look at the really top LSMs and the uber ultra wealthy, there is this very weird innovation happening in America where people are looking at disaster-proof destinations. And I'm not saying the world's going there. People are buying citizenship in countries that they think are safer if you have a lot of money, and private jets and things that are coming into play, okay, in terms of tourism. So the luxury market, the market that is maybe able to escape the day-to-day things, will probably come back to tourism a little bit earlier if they can afford in terms of private jets and things like that. Okay, then the 1.5 meter economy, such an interesting thing, guys, is that governments are going to impose restrictions, okay? So, and what is interesting, if you look at architecture, Frank Gehry said, where there are constraints, there's creativity, okay? So there's an opportunity for us to think differently. And I know that you guys have seen that restaurant in Amsterdam. It's been all over the internet. What is so amazing to me about that restaurant is that it is a vegan restaurant, okay? So it's a plant-driven restaurant, putting little greenhouses out so that people can dine in a social, a safe environment. And I think that's amazing. It's on brand. It is taking away the barriers of fear and enabling that business to carry on. What you guys see on the right is, again, driven by the 1.5 meter economy, and that was Germany's first drive-in rave. Okay, so social distancing, drive-ins are back. It is very interesting what's happening out there. And obviously contactless everything, guys. You'll see it, contactless door handles. Payment platforms, obviously a big drive there in terms of innovation. So what we need to realize, guys, okay, there's safety and anxiety that is driving a lot of things, is that every business, all of you guys are a health business, okay? Everybody's going to spend more money on health, from governments to corporates, your employees, wellness. People are predicting that the next big C-suite position is going to be your chief health officer. So everybody in HR or human capital, that's where you're moving to. Cleanliness is going to stay a thing in terms of hygiene, but the sanitizers, hand sanitizers, is going to shift. People are going to move back in terms of behavior, but health and wellness is going to stay there. Okay, so you really need to think about, how can we address the safety thing? What is the safety theater? How do we make people feel safe in the environments around us, and as they are walking through our customer journey? So if you look at health and safety, it's everywhere, guys. So you're getting your scan and go, which we're all familiar with now in terms of shops, and people are scanning your temperature. It is going to fundamentally change the way that we move, whether we like it or not. We might think it's not necessary. It is what's happening in the world. If you look at China, their green and red system, into your health details, how you're feeling, and they literally say green, you can go, you can travel; red, you may not leave, you are restricted. Okay, so there's a whole lot of debate in terms of our governments are starting to control people. And what's so interesting, and I didn't say it earlier, is that 61% of people now are happy to give away their data. If it's gonna make it a safer world, you can track me on my phone, you can have all of my data. So there's a bit of data apathy developing at the moment, where we don't mind anymore. Okay, you can go out there and you can take all my data and you can track it in terms of well-being. Guys, we're seeing it coming through in tourism. So people talk about over-tourism, and Spain has developed an app where you can reserve your space on the beach. Okay, so very interesting. It's going to change things. The whole of the UK going to Spain for summer holidays, and you can reserve a place on the beach. Okay, and it'll, as people go off the beach, it becomes available. And then, very importantly, which I didn't talk about earlier, is whole body health, guys. Everything. Mental health is a huge issue. People started this year anxious. Okay, burnout. Yes, people are working from home. Burnout's still an issue in terms of productivity levels, and people are not going to cope. People who it's very interesting, and I know people in my family have said, guys, they live with anxiety. They've dealt with this their whole lives. They're used to it. But people who don't usually feel anxiety are feeling anxiety now. So we need to take that into mind when we think about our own businesses. Okay, everything online. This is not a surprise, okay, and this is kind of the first level of where people shift to. But what is interesting about this is that it's also showing that there's a disconnect in the world. Okay, some people have access to online, some people don't have access to online. It's not very comfortable for everybody moving into the space. But what you guys must realize, because what everybody has done is the first level pivot. Okay, cool, we have this product, we're going to just pivot to online. Okay, we're going to have an online store, we're going to put all our products in there, and people are going to buy from us. Guys, shifting to online is not yes, it's a product shift, but it is a behavior shift. Okay, when you move things to online, you have to think about the experience, your consumer experience. It is not just a store. It is a medium. Okay, how are you going to engage people on this platform? What is so interesting is it's almost a bit of a leveler. So where before, if you think about shopping in a store, the big fast-moving consumer goods brands have so much space. Okay, it's a field. It is an interest issue. It's a science. How we walk through the aisles. How much space do you have on the shelf? It encourages people to buy more. So I'm just going to use brand names, but I mean, if you walk into a store and you are a very good personal healthcare product, you're going to have more shelf space. Okay, people see it, they're like, oh, this is so cool. So people buy into that. What is happening when you move things online is it's a leveler. Okay, all of a sudden you all have a little thumbnail. So actually, for new products, it is fantastic. You have shared space in terms of okay, I'm going to look at this, and maybe this is for me, and maybe that's for me. But you need to think about your brand and what you're presenting. What is the copy that's going with it? What is happening? Impulse purchases have dropped off dramatically because people walking through aisles pick up a chocolate or pick up a sweet. When you go onto a website, you don't impulsively go to the sweet section to buy a chocolate for yourself. It's a very conscious decision in terms of what you're going online and what to shop. Guys, I know that there's a huge difference. Online, yes, has picked up dramatically. In South Africa, it's only increased about 7% in terms of online shopping. You'll see more increases there in terms of entertainment, the Netflixes and things like that. But it is coming. What has happened here is a 25-year trend that, because of this catastrophe, has sped up. It is here now, guys. What the internet promised 25 years ago in terms of revolutionizing education, revolutionizing the way we work, it is now, okay, because of what's happening. Okay, so I'm very glad you guys have time, because I would like to say, okay, so what is happening in terms of anxiety? I said people are anxious. In terms of the education industry, people are even more anxious, because what has become very obvious is that online is the center of education, okay? There is a huge disparity. People who have the have-nots, how everybody is aware that to shift online and to have online education, we need access to data. So in terms of basic human rights, that's a big discussion point at the moment. Is internet a basic human right? And what is also point, it's very fascinating, because even in the first world countries, there's this feeling of it takes a village, okay? Schools, everybody thinks private schools are less, okay, move a private school online and people can start educating. We're not there. We haven't shifted to online education. We haven't thought about these meaningful experiences and how do we actually engage our children online. So in terms of the huge development opportunity, and what is amazing, it's coming up with, in terms of corporate pressure, there's a lot of spend being directed there. In terms of, as I spoke about the online experience and creating meaningful engagement. So what you'll see in a lot of the retail stores, very fascinating case studies coming up first out of China, okay, where retail was like, okay, shut our doors, we cannot operate anymore, okay, either retrench our salespeople, what are we going to do? So this shift to online, so there was a jewelry store that did it first in China that said, okay, cool, we have 1,000 salespeople. Instead of retrenching all our salespeople, let's turn those 1,000 salespeople into online stores. So they became ambassadors. They were selling their jewelry online. Yeah, this is it. So lots of little stores, and actually you'll see it in all industries, people doing beauty engagement sessions, but really real, okay, in terms of not just putting it on a store and expecting people to buy from you, but what is the experience? I have to share for the tourism people out there. The next one is Where Next? Amazing storytelling agency that did a tourism campaign for Colombia. So instead of, I know we see it, guys, everywhere. It is amazing, and what I must just say is that I know there's incredible people in this room, and people are trying things, and I see it everywhere. I could give you thousands of case studies. People are putting stuff out there to try and make people remember their countries. But this Colombian tourism campaign, specifically for birders, fascinating. So what they did is they created a full-length documentary for birders. Instead of just, okay, you're missing this, we can't wait to see you, come and experience this birding thing. They created it's called Quarantine Birding, full-length documentary featuring 100 of the Colombia's bird species, okay? So what they did is they said, okay, cool, here it is. Watch it, but here, go and download the full birding checklist. And as you go through the documentary, you can actually bird and tick off the species that you see. You can then also download the eBird app from our partners if you are having trouble and you want to identify things, so you can also do that. And then if you've done that, and you're too good a birder, you can identify the bird calls in the movie. So it's fully engaging experience for people. So it's not just about come and see us. It's like, this is what it is. Okay, the last one, in terms of moving, in terms of shift and working from home, because I know that I'm almost need to be halfway, I'm over time already, is that, yes, guys, it's changed the way we work. Everybody's working on Zoom. The people that can work from home are actually like, this is amazing. In the big international cities, it is changing, it's shifting behavior, okay? What is happening is that the guys that have been doing it now realize, okay, instead of 2 hours of commuting every day, I've got 2 extra hours. I've got an extra hour to spend with my family. I can spend an extra hour on myself. I don't know if I want to go back to the way that it was, okay? So there's a huge shift in terms of these high executives who are saying, okay, cool, no, I'd rather resign. I'm going to find somewhere else that is more accommodating. So it's changing the way we work. The example there I just had to share because it's so cute in terms of innovation. It's a little Japanese company that's launched these clothes that work at the top for Zoom calls and comfortable pajama tracksuits from the bottom. Okay, home is where the heart is. Guys, really important is that this shift to home, okay, is that people have rediscovered things. This is almost the nostalgia trend that was happening already. back to basics. Okay, I'm spending time with my family. You guys have seen it everywhere in terms of lockdown. There are families together doing things that we never see in the streets. Parents and children walking their dogs, skating. Home is where the heart is. There's going to be a massive uptake in terms of home things, okay? Because now I'm in my space and beautifying my space. There was a huge shift towards remote office desks, but it's really important is that we realize that there's been an absolute change and people are looking for meaningful experiences, okay? This was a huge trend. This has been coming in the experience economy forever, transcendent experiences, but that people no longer, there was a shift from services and goods to say, okay, I don't want to just buy things, and I want to buy experiences. And this has just become even more obvious, okay? Spending time with each other at home, making connections. So one of the industries that's very much being disrupted at the moment is the exercise industry. It's almost like people didn't realize that you could exercise from home. 40% of people say they're going to carry on doing that. They've now realized that there's this whole world of online exercise, from 10-minute this to 5-minute sit-ups to PE with Joe Wicks in the UK has basically revolutionized his business. So fascinating, because he was in the body coaching business. He identified this need for children and doing physical exercise for children, and he just put himself out there. And it's basically, I mean, it's incredible what it's done for him. Family nostalgia, guys. People are revisiting old things. Cooking, okay? How do we cook family meals? And this shift, it is a shift. It's going to stay. Yes, people are going to go back to normal, but 40% of people say that they're going to visit restaurants less. So in the restaurant industry, we need to think about that, okay, in terms of where are we going with this? Things are changing. Regenerative agriculture. And when I talk about home is where the heart is, it's not just about a physical home, okay? So we're spending time with our family and connections and relationships, but it's also, we want to be local, okay? There's a huge awareness of where things are coming from, okay? Because a lot of supply chains have been disrupted. There are so many businesses sourcing things from China, selling things and reselling things. But now it's like, okay, where's the stuff coming from? And also, how do we eat locally? Okay, so not just a delivery, door to door, that's kind of the obvious thing in terms of, okay, how do we take things into the home in terms of your business, which is interesting to ask yourself and say, okay, cool. If my business was a takeaway service, what would that look like? The last thing is very much about connection, guys. And what is interesting is intimate connection. So before, where we were like digital addiction, social media, everyone's making all these fake connections. Zoom meetings and social media and WhatsApp have become more meaningful. We are reconnecting with people that we haven't spoken to for ages. I mean, case in point, I have amazing friends on this group that I have not spent time with for years, and they're here today. So it is changing social connection, but you will see the innovation coming out there, and you've seen it, guys. Facebook portal launching in retirement homes so that people can connect, older people can connect with their families. House party, everybody. Fortnite, the games company, launched House Party, and everybody's on there in terms of connection. Okay, the next big shift is mindful consumption. I know that you guys said I can take my time, but you guys are going to have to stick around for the second part because we've got 20 minutes. Mindful consumption, huge, guys. Shift to people are aware where they're spending the money. They are voting with their wallets. Okay, there's a move, whether we like it or not, to sustainability. And it's not about the greenies, guys. There's green fatigue, okay? So the greenies, it was kind of too specific. There's a massive shift that's happening. And whether it is intentional or it's because of what's happening, is some people have shifted by default, okay? So by not flying, you are becoming more sustainable, okay? Carbon footprint. We are doing things that are sustainable, but there is definitely an awareness. So in the beginning of this year, when I said there's this expectation of CEOs, is this pursuit of positive change, guys. People expect CEOs to take the lead in terms of making positive change. And 6% of people, which is really scary if you think about humanity, believe that the responsibility of sustainability lies with them, okay? So here we have it. People like this idea of sustainability, but don't ask me to do it. You guys need to do it as businesses, okay? So, and I think it's interesting because if you think about how slow the recycle thing is, the uptake of recycling, because it's difficult for consumers, okay? A very small percentage of the market will do it, but actually people want businesses to make that decision for us. There was a website that was launched now during COVID. Sorry, Paolo, I will try and make a plan for you guys if in terms of recording it or doing it again. I'll let you know if we're going to do it again. Did they help? So there's a website launched in the UK called didthehelp.com, really saying who's helped in this situation, have people align themselves to their values and their purpose, and really do what they say. Guys, are you doing what you say? So purpose, people, planet over profit. Are you profiting? If you're just profiting out of this and you are not staying true to what your core values are and what your purpose is, what is the difference that you're planning to make for the people, for your own people, for the planet? It sounds very lofty, but for me, it's a very positive thing in terms of people moving towards purpose-driven business. The world is a glass box, guys. You're on show, okay? There's got to be alignment. What you say and what you do. What are we trying to do? And what are we saying out there in the world? You cannot, and you would have seen in a lot of businesses, is you cannot be declaring dividends to people or doing one thing on the side and retrenching people at the same time. Okay, what are you really trying to do? Because I get it, cash flow, how's this business going to move forward? But we are literally all in this together, and people are watching you. Okay, so you need to be transparent. It is not just an external thing anymore. It's not working in silos. I'm going to produce this product. Okay, cool. I'm going to put that out there. People want to know where it's coming from and how you behave in society. Oh, quickly. So in terms of consumers and how they expect to change, you can see sustainability coming through. Okay, so consumers expect shopping habits to change. They're going to limit their food waste. It's a big thing when you're sitting in lockdown, or you're all of a sudden conscious of the food that you're using and what you're discarding. Shopping more health consciously. There's that health thing. Making more sustainable choices, shopping more cost consciously, closer to neighborhoods, and only buying brands that you know. Okay, so you can see it coming through. The Milkman model, Loop, you guys can go check these things out. People, and this is big companies, Unilever, P&Gs, who are actually doing sustainability and delivering things and making it come back and taking it and reusing it. Circular economy is such a big thing. Not going to have time to talk about it now. But repurposing, okay, not new things, taking snorkeling masks and making ventilators. In terms of a local example, and Bruce is on the call, but really looking at making hand sanitizers, which we know is a trend, but taking used alcohol from printers and repurposing that to make a new product. And fashion industry changing fundamentally with no fashion shoots, traveling around the world, people using avatars. Okay, quickly, doctor knows best. Return to expertise. This is a fantastic thing, guys. If you have a skill or an expertise to share, there's a big trust in skill and expertise. Again, traditional media at an all-time high in terms of trust, and very important that your consumers trust you. Okay, quickly, reimagining what's possible. Guys, we have forced people into creativity. So people are used to change now. This is a great time to change things if you need to change things. Consumers are ready and waiting. Okay, guys, before people have to leave, the secret to remaining relevant and getting into the more practical part of the presentation. Charles Darwin, it is not the strongest of species survive, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change, okay? We need a change, we need a move. It is what is happening at the moment, and it's going to what is required of us in future as businesses, as people, to be flexible. Just quickly at this point, I'm so sorry for the people that have to move. I should have made this an hour and a half. But anyway, let's keep going. The biggest question, guys, how can we be invited in? How can your brand be invited into someone's home or someone's life? There was a mass trend anyway before this in terms of people closing down, okay? People shutting down. I don't want to be out there on social media. I just want to be in the groups. I want to connect to the people that I want to connect to, the tribes. Just checking here, Leilani, Liesel. Okay, connecting to people. So hyper-personalization. You need to be invited into someone's home, okay? Just putting your stuff out there is not going to mean that you can change your business. So what are the key things in terms of being agile and being resilient going forward? Guys, you have to have a startup mindset, okay? You need to be able to move. You need to be human at the core. You need diversification, and it's really important because people in the service industry have realized, oh my goodness, I have one client. If a one-on-one meeting is not going to work anymore, how do I run a business, okay? Think about your skills, how you can move. Acceleration of digital, purpose-driven customer playbook. and ecosystems thinking. Okay, these are huge concepts which we can't unpack now, but we can talk about them at a later stage. The pivot, okay, quickly for people who have to leave. The buzz around the pivot, guys, it's a fascinating thing. It's the new buzzword. It's what everybody's talking about. The question is, first of all, do you really need to pivot? Okay, back to basics. Don't get caught up in this whole shift. Yes, you really need to be aware of what's happening in the world, is that this adjustment period is going to last a long time. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. So if you have hit a wall, you need to move. But if you have not hit a wall, it's back to basics, and it's giving you time and space to think about what you're doing. So this is just it's basically a little, it's a way that I've worked out to try and think of it through for myself. And it's based on a beautiful Japanese philosophy called the Ikigai, your reason for being. So if you look at this as a balanced business, okay, a balanced business is doing what you love, your purpose. Okay, what is the intention of this business in the world? What human behavior are you trying to satisfy or need? Or what need are you trying to satisfy? On the left is what you're good at, guys. Those are your skills and your assets. What you love does not change. Okay, the only thing in this little balance diagram that will never change is what you love. Your purpose or your intention, that stays the same. If you need to change your whole business model, if you need to shift to a different industry, you can still achieve what you love outside of what you're doing at the moment. Okay, but that we'll talk about later. On the right is what the world needs. Consumer needs, guys. If you do not satisfy a need, you don't have a business. Okay. The bottom one, which is really important, because I know I get a lot of cynics who say this whole like find what you love, do what you love, and the money will follow business doesn't work. Which I am a purpose person. I believe in doing what you love and making a meaningful impact, but it has to be validated. Okay, you can't have a balanced business if there's no revenue. Okay, and if you don't have revenue, you must ask yourself why not, because you're obviously not satisfying the need or addressing what is happening out there. The center of that diagram is the what. Okay, so if you look at the what you love, that is basically the why and the how. It's the values. It's what makes you different in terms of the effort you're putting into the world. The center of that, of the combination of all these things, is what you should be producing, or the services or goods that, or experiences that you're putting out there. Okay, so balance is very important. So let's just have a look at this in context of what's happening now. These are all of what's happening to all businesses at the moment. Okay, you have businesses on the left that are suddenly experiencing a low demand. Okay, that is not a bad position. All of a sudden, your revenue is shrunk. You're still doing what you love. There is still a market. It's not as big as before. We're in a recession. You can expect that. Okay, if you're in this position, great. You can, depending on your runway, and we talk about runway in terms of cash flow and how long you can last. You've got time, okay? You can look at your services. You can still go through this whole process to say, okay, how can we diversify and how can we make a sustainable business going forward? But that is actually fine. On the right, we have high demand, guys. There are businesses that are in their sweet spot. They've been building up to this for a long time. The world needs them more than ever. If you think of Zoom, if you think of online businesses, that was very easy for them to just accelerate contactless payment platforms, high demand. I don't know if any of you are here, because I'm not sure you'd be listening to this if you were in that position. But if you are in that position, guys, think about, and if you're thinking about hiring people, it comes with its own challenges. Think about other businesses. Think about in your communities and your ecosystems of your networks, and how can you help other businesses? Maybe you can take on some of their staff to help them get through this period and use them in your business where there's a need. Okay, on the left, you have a situation where there's high demand. Okay, the world needs you, and there's absolutely no or low revenue. Okay, very interesting situations happening with a lot of media companies at the moment. Everybody wants to know what's going on in terms of the news. No payments. Okay, people have withdrawn their advertising. They're not ready to commit to that. That is also, so that is a business that you need to look at. Okay, in terms of the right, catastrophic. Okay, and there's a lot of industries that are feeling that. The events industries, tourism, airlines, any experience industry, basically no demand, no revenue at the moment. So if you're in that situation, now's the time to start thinking differently. Maybe you can ride it out. Okay, but as I said, there's uncertainty about how long this is going to take. Okay, so quickly back to what you love. I really hate to be speeding through this, because it is, I could do a presentation on each of these segments by itself, but we'll go through this quickly. What you love, guys: your purpose, your values, your why, your essence, your reason for being, your mission in the world. It's a whole segment by itself. I know some of you are Simon Sinek fans like I am, and there's a lot of different ways to unpack this, but that is really important. What some people have asked me is, okay, but what happens? I get the quick, in terms of, I get the short-term crisis. Okay, if you need to shift your business for the short term to something that is not 100% on purpose, absolutely fine. Okay, if you have no demand, no revenue, and you need to pivot around your what's and say, okay, I just need to make something here to just get through, no problem. Okay. But if you pivot around your purpose, it's going to open up a whole lot of different avenues. Okay. If you are trying to, I'll use Simon Sinek as an example. He does presentations. That's how he makes his revenue. And he does them usually big events in person, and that's how he drives his business. So the easiest shift would, he could have just said, okay, I'm going to do webinars. I'm going to charge people to come to webinars, and he's amazing. People would pay. And that would be pivoting around your products. Okay. But what he did, he said, okay, what does he want to do? His drive is to inspire people to do meaningful things with their lives. So to wake up inspired and go to work and have meaningful jobs, meaningful lives. So what he did is go back to that, and he's pivoted his business around his purpose and said, okay, how else can we achieve that purpose? And he's launched online courses, different things around that purpose. So very important. Not a great time if you do not have a purpose-driven business to start thinking about your purpose. Actually, maybe it is if you've got time to think about that. But it's not something you just invent overnight. So this whole what the world needs, okay, very important. We've been through it. Guys, look at what's happening in terms of basic needs. They don't go away. They always stay the same, okay? And look at the big trends. The trends have been there for ages. Health, hygiene, and wellness, mindful consumption, circular thinking, okay? Start looking at, do you need to sell your product? Can you license your product out? Is it something people will rent? Repair is a big thing along sustainability, okay? Repurposing. Home is where the hearting, everything online. Skills. Is there something that you could be sharing with the world, your business, based on the skills that you have, okay? People want to listen to people that they have skills. Education, big thing. Upskilling, convenience, always convenient. Nostalgic, and digital nomad. Okay, so along with looking at the world and what the world needs, there are certain constraints in place at the moment. Okay, there are physical constraints, there are financial constraints. As I said, people are spending less, psychological, fear, anxiety. What can you do about that? And you can look at that in terms of your current consumer base and in terms of your consumer base going forward. Okay, brilliant example, guys. Qatar Air, I think they are disrupting the industry, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out for them. But they said, okay, cool. They're opening up. European flights are starting to open up from 2nd of June. So what are these physical constraints? So people, I've said that there's psychological huge, okay? People have uncertainty, they don't know where to go. So they've said, okay, you can change the origin, your origin city to another city in the same country. Okay, so what happens if there's another lockdown? Then I can move my flight to another city, okay? Or I can shift that. I can also fly to another destination within a 5,000-mile radius of your original destination, okay? So I'm shifting the barriers, okay? The physical barriers. So now, okay, cool. And they all go hand in hand, is that actually I can fly somewhere else. Financial, guys. People are so scared, this uncertainty of, I don't know where my finances are going. I can buy this flight, but I don't know if I can. What happens if something happens? I can't afford for everything to be cancelled, okay? So you can exchange your ticket for a future travel voucher with 10% additional voucher with value, and it's valid for 2 years. And psychologically, guys, you can rest assured, we will refund your ticket to the original form of payment if your flight gets cancelled, okay? So they are removing barriers, guys. They're making it very hard for you not to book a flight with them in terms of if you can, okay? In terms of the uncertainty that's happening in the world. So just back to our beautiful, I know I said Stefan was asking me, what do we call these things? Leaves or petals? I have to think of something for that. But anyway, what you're good at, your skills and assets, guys, if you've got to look at your current business, you own things, okay? They might not be physical assets. They might be, in terms of, they might be non-tangible. You have skills, guys. You have people sitting in your businesses and they can do certain things, okay? So what skills do we have? If we can't operate now, can we pivot to digital, or can we do a business that is essential? How can we best use the spaces that you own or rent? How can you redirect your staff or use your distribution channels differently, okay? You're one of your biggest asset bases, guys, is in terms of your platforms and your customers, your current customers, okay? You might have to shift your whole business model, but you own people, relationships, people that have come back to you. How can we use that customer base and shift it, okay? Have their needs changed, guys? I don't know if you guys have done it, but go out and ask people, what has changed? Okay, working from home, what has changed for you? What is important? How have you changed your behavior? What do you need that would help you? Okay, I'd love to spend hours on this page, but we also need to move. And again, what financial constraints do they have? What physical constraints do they have? And what psychological constraints do they have? Okay, moving forward. Okay, moving to the next one. And this is really about opening up new opportunities. Okay, guys, businesses don't operate in silos anymore. In the old days, this was my business, this was my unique selling proposition, and I live in this bubble. I've got my customers, and I work with them. Okay, what are the opportunities that arise if you say, what would happen if I partnered up with competitors? Okay, suppliers or customers or consumers. Okay, who can I collaborate with? Who shares, and you can do it through each of these different things. Who shares a common purpose with me? Okay, we're trying to achieve the same thing in the world. Maybe we can do something together. Who has a common customer? Okay, a similar profile. If you have a similar profile of customer, you could be in different industries, but there might be things that you could be doing together. Okay, what current partnerships could be mutually beneficial to my business? And if you start to put these little things over each other, you can grow your audience base, you can reach new people, you can generate more revenue. The ideas in terms of innovation will start to come. So I know in terms of finding the perfect, I just have to use this example in terms of pivoting your business and in terms of the philosophy I was talking about now. There's a company, for South Africans will know it, company in Cape Town, they're called Granular Swimwear, guys. It's a seasonal swimwear business for celebrating Cape Townians and the lifestyle that is South African. Granular Swimwear, and they also produced a little kombucha brand that they sold at markets in the Western Cape. Guys, when lockdown happened in South Africa, their business went dead. Absolutely overnight. No swimwear business, closed, retail, warehouse empty, kombucha gone. They were sitting with staff and with people and sitting and saying, okay, well, how are we going to pay salaries? Okay, no idea of how long this lockdown's going to. They could, if they had a lot of cash, they could have sat there and said, okay, cool, we're just going to ride this out. We're going to wait for people to come back and buy our swimwear and wait for the markets and sell our kombucha. Guys, in 48 hours, they did what we're talking about, this pivot. 48 hours, they said, okay, cool, how do we, what are our assets and what are our resources? They had a very good online platform in terms of a store. They had this big warehouse, okay, they could operate from in terms of physical assets. They had amazing people, startup mindset, amazing people. They had, in terms of kombucha, food handling, okay, capacity, safety, okay. What they did, guys, is there was a need. Let's go back to consumer need. What was happening? What is their community need at that point in time? All the farmers sitting in Cape Town had surplus. Restaurant industry did, event industry did. They were sitting with fresh produce that was going to go off, okay? So in 48 hours, they pivoted their business from Granular Swimwear. They combined, if you think of ecosystem thinking, they didn't now suddenly try to upskill and get trucks and delivery services. They combined with a small delivery company in Cape Town, a third-party service, and said ecosystem thinking, here we go. From Granular Swimwear to Granular Eats, okay? Using their existing platforms, using their store, using their market that they already had, their consumers that they already had. And because it was an authentic shift, it was fine. They went onto their swimwear pages and said, guys, due to the situation, we need to think differently. We need to retain our jobs. This is what we're doing. We are shifting our business. So, guys, support us. Here we are. This is our delivery system. It's a fantastic example of how to shift. Okay. Fail, guys. Startup mindset. People fail. People try again. I am terrible at it. And I know it's very difficult. And moving is difficult. Getting out there, exactly what I'm doing today, starting a webinar. I have no idea how this is going to happen. But anyway, fail. It might be a failure. Move on. Try it again. Make it better the next time. Rapid prototyping. The whole world has changed. These long management things of project planning, what are the outcomes, blah, blah, blah. Do it. Small prototypes, test it, see, get feedback from your consumers and tweak it as you go. Okay. Not very long now, guys. Last 3 or 4 slides. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Okay. Guys, and I couldn't do a presentation without a Steve Jobs quote. and I know that case study, Apple, might not be the case study of the future, but anyway, is that the broader one's understanding of the human experience, the better design we all have. Guys, everything we sell, what people buy, is rooted in human experience, okay? On the one hand, you have your current customer base. Think about it. Try to think, and when we talk about circular thinking, this is not a linear process, okay? You've got customers that come and they just take your service. They come, they're going to maybe stay at your lodge. They maybe going to buy something from you and they're going to leave. Awesome. And they're satisfied, okay? What is the human experience? What is the whole experience? What is happening around them when they sit down to go onto the website and to look at what you offer? How could that experience be better? How could you do it differently? When they buy something from your store, what does the thank you message look like? How is that crafted? And in this whole customer journey, okay, if you think of a means to an end in this experience, is I am providing them possibly with if you think of online, I'm providing them with yoga services, okay? Because I know there's some of you out there as well. So I'm providing you with a service here. What else? What is the mentality? Why do they want to do yoga? Okay, so what does that open up in terms of mindful consumption and health and wellness along this whole journey, okay? Maybe there's other things I can give them. How can we partner with people to make this experience better, okay? Guys, again, like I said, hyper-personalization. If you own a customer base, get to know them very quickly, okay? They are the people. A word of mouth recommendation in this, moving forward, the review economy was a big thing, is worth gold, okay? Skills and expertise. People are shifting out all the noise. They want to hear how you're going to benefit them, okay, going forward. Okay, a lot of people here said, okay, and this is the golden question, is what will people be prepared to pay for, okay, in this new normal? Okay, I wish I had all these answers for you. I would love to give you more practical answers, and we're nearly done. But this is a quote actually that I used in my media trends presentation earlier this year, and it is still so relevant. Okay, guys, Simon Kemp is the chief analyst for We Are Social and Data Reportal, huge data analytics company in terms of internet trends and what's happening in purchase behavior. And he said, guys, and if you think about digital, okay, digital is moving so quickly. It's the one industry that did disrupt a lot of industries, is that almost without exception, the companies and the brands that have succeeded over the long term are those that successfully satisfy people's wants, needs, and desires, okay? This is a human thing. You have something, you have a business which is driven by humans, okay? They are your own customer group, your own employees or your brand ambassadors. You have other people. You want other people to experience this, okay? If you do not satisfy these people, if there's not a need to fulfill or a want to fulfill or a desire to fulfill, nothing's going to happen, okay? Your business, if you look at the economy, you're not going to get the validation of the economic thing, but you will. And in terms, guys, this, and I didn't say it earlier, but this applies to all socioeconomic levels, okay? Meaningful experiences. Guys, if I do not have a lot of money, my meaningful experience for my children and my family might be to go to the corner store once a month and buy an ice cream. Meaningful experiences and walk there and have a family time exist across all socioeconomic levels, okay? The experiences are just different. Okay, and to, just last but not least, and I really, I said in the beginning, you need to do things differently or do different things. Again, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results, okay? There's also a huge trend, like I said, is leading from the emerging future, is feeling it, guys, your gut, feeling in your gut. If you started this year and you had a gut feeling that something was wrong about your business and something is still wrong about your business, okay, then something is wrong. You need to change something. If you look at that wheel, is it in line with what you're actually trying to do in the world? Are you using your assets? Is it what the world needs? And commercially, how is that being validated, okay? And that wheel is actually incredible. You can use it for your personal mission in the world. You can use it for projects in terms of teams, and validating if your project is in line with business values and purpose. So guys, I'm so sorry. I know it went over, 6 minutes over. I really rushed through it. I could have spent hours and hours. That's basically it from me. I really hope you enjoyed it. I think I rushed over some of the parts. But I think the challenge here is really to try and get some distance, okay? Try and zoom out. And I think in terms of design thinking, and the designers in the groups, you guys will know, when you go through a process like this, you need to zoom into the detail, and then you need to zoom out again, and look at it holistically. What is happening in the environment around you? It is really important. And I know there's some other people on the groups who really would have liked to have got some more concrete things in terms of communication, how to talk to customers. Please drop me a mail. Please drop me a mail. I'm happy to set up a Zoom session. If you guys have any questions, or if you want to chat about this a bit more, we can do another Zoom session, which is a bit more personal, and chatting about it. Let me know. But you guys are really incredible. The fact that you're on here means that you are trying to move, or you're thinking about your consumers, or you're trying to create that experience. And there are always solutions. There are always solutions. Thank you so much. Thanks to Nix for sitting here on the side. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat now. I see everybody's saying thank you and heading out. Love to see you guys. There was a question about